Welcome back. All right, so normally I would do the review of a movie on the Entertainment Guy set. Here you go. But that was Azrael, this is Shadow, Bear, and there's Maple up on top. So four cats. There you go. So I want to talk about the movie Barbarian. Watched it a few days ago. I did watch it by myself, as because it's a horror movie. I had to make sure that it wasn't one of those horror movies that I know my wife can't watch, where it's too brutal, it's too like Terrifier. Like there's no chance, none, right? And even for me, Terrifier 2 it might be a bridge too far for me. I may not be watching that one anytime soon. It might be one of those ones I would watch over like 4 20-minute or 25-minute increments, just a little bit here, a little bit there. Barbarian, I watched over a period of 2 days. I did it. I watched it on my phone while I was doing my treadmill, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and it's interesting because when there was so much hype, I thought, well, this since this movie has so much hype, it must be terrifying. It must be just or brutal, and it really wasn't either of those things. Now there are a couple of brutal deaths in it, but it's not really focused on by the camera. It's not. It really is not the kind of horror movie I thought it was going to be, and I say that as a compliment. I think there was a lot more tension building than anything else. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I recommend you don't watch this review, that you watch the movie and then come back and watch the review because I'm going to get into spoilers. And I really think that this movie is one of those ones. It's better if you don't know what's going on before you start watching it than if you already know the storyline, because then it doesn't take the tension out of it, but it definitely gets rid of those aha moments and those wow, so this is what's happening. Because I had it wrong. I had a couple of theories, and I was completely wrong. I didn't have it figured out until well, right near the end, really, which is kind of how horror movies of this nature should work. So this is not your slasher movie. This isn't like a serial killer type movie. Although there are certain parts of it that it does feel like there's a person that may very well have that in their mindset, their psychological makeup. But anyways, so that's it for the non-spoiler talk. You guys are ready to talk with spoilers? You ready? All right. So the movie starts off with this young lady showing up at a B&B. And I really like the setup here. It doesn't waste any time with her getting to know this young man that's already there. So it was double booked. They don't they don't get into why it's double. There's never any actual reveal of why it's double booked. Not only that, but they survive night one. So the idea that they're there, and I thought, okay, so they're being brought in because they're both gonna be in a murderous position by the end of the night, where they're deciding, do we murder, do we get murdered, and no, no, it was there was some maddening parts for me when they're going into the basement, and I'm like, oh come on, you guys can't be this dumb. You're gonna get stuck down there again, but it turned out to be more straightforward. So while we're looking, although there are some questions I still have coming out of that movie. There are a lot. Actually, there's a lot of questions I still have coming out of that movie. There's a room, right, that's not part of the house that is lit and has a bed and everything. Okay, so if it's not part of the house, did he run wiring down? Did he get an electrician to come in and run wiring down there? We never see what happened in that room. We never see a lot of things in this movie, and I think that's part of the reason why some people don't like it. I think we're like I saw one negative review that said this movie was dumb. It's just there was no jump scares, and I thought, yeah, yeah, that's a good thing. I'm old school. I think jump scares are cheap. I think that jump scares aren't scary. That's just being startled. Horror movies never used to be about just getting startled. There would be one or two moments in any Friday the 13th, usually involving a cat. Nightmare on Elm Street, you'd have these like one, right? A moment during a movie, usually there'd be one, maybe two jump scares in an entire movie. And now we've gone through the PG-13 era where you couldn't show the gore anymore, so you just up the jump scares. You just say, all right, well, we're gonna have like 30 jump scares in this movie, and it's just being startled every few minutes. It's just nothing, nothing, nothing. Straight at the camera, something happens. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Something jumps at the camera. That's not scary. Okay, that feeling of dread, that feeling of oh my gosh, something's coming. It's not there. Paranormal Activity had parts of it, but yeah, the jump scare stuff is just it wears out its welcome and it becomes tiresome to me. So the fact that Barbarian doesn't have them is great. Now, there's been some talk too about how male characters are portrayed negatively. Well, yes. The one scene that I would have pulled out of this movie if I was making it is there's a scene where Justin Long who comes in and it is jarring when Justin Long shows up. The movie does change, but that's by design. It's supposed to change. But when he goes out with his buddy at the bar, and he's like, "Yeah, well, she said no," and then like, pff, bro, and then she was totally down. I could have done without that. So you have Justin Long's character comes in, and he's a celebrity. He's a pilot. His life's going really well, and then he gets a call from his agent and from people associated with the show saying, "Yeah, you're out. If the pilot goes forward, you're out because your co-star is accusing you of sexual assault." And so he goes nuts, as almost anybody would in that situation, right? Because you're looking at your career and it's just going, and there's an article coming out that's going to just blow your career right out of the water. So that should have, in my mind, it would have been better if that was left ambiguous and we're left asking ourselves, did he do it? Than having him at the bar going, yeah, she started out saying no, but then, like, she was totally down. Meaning the insinuation being that she had said no, and therefore it was not a consensual situation that he was involved in, right? So I would have done away with that. I would have said no. I would have taken, but that's just me, right? That's the one part of the movie that I said, this is not necessary. I think if they just left him in the house and then you have all of the things that happen after that. And as soon as I saw that scene, I said out loud, well, he's going to die. Like, they've set him up now where he's the real villain. So the whole movie, we've been worried about something that lives under the house. But the real villain now is Justin Long. And he can play that. He can absolutely play, like I remember him in Dodgeball, where he was the nerdy underdog, who eventually gets Amber, and it's great. I love you too. Joni loves Chachi when, gets hit in the face with the ball. But he can play a jerk. He can absolutely play the kind of guy where you're like, are you serious? I know there's moments in the movie Drag Me to Hell where I'm like, okay, he's being a complete prick here. And so he can do that. So because I've seen comments too, like, well, he can't be a villain. Yes, he can. But in a way that he's that preppy, know-it-all, egotistical kind of, and he does have some of that in the character. But again, I thought they could have left it ambiguous because as soon as he became the villain, it changes the way that the rest of the movie unfolds. So there are some jarring sequences. So the lady that's in the house at the start, she's still alive. They don't show how she ends up still being alive, and I understand why, but they could have done something with it. And again, it's one of those things, right, where she's with Keith, where's, and then she finds Keith, and then Keith ends up being bloodied up against the wall. So Keith's gone, and she's screaming, and this I want to say creature, but this woman slash creature, this inbred creature, is screaming as well. Well, in that moment, what we know of it later, it should have killed her, and it didn't. And we don't get into why. We don't really get it. Like, I understand later on that she's troubled and she's viewing this girl as a baby and to nurse, and she's only had this nursing video her whole life. Like, there's this whole side of the movie that starts to come out later on that's really interesting. And again, what I think helps is you never see in the flashback from the 80s that they show, you never see anything. Dude's just going to the store and he wants plastic and he wants diapers and whatever you need for a baby. And he's getting ready for one. And he also goes to a lady's house. He locks windows in her house, clearly with the idea he's going to go back and kidnap her, and that this is what he does. And that he's responsible for this whole neighborhood going downhill, which is crazy. But it's one of those things where in that movie's universe, I'm like, okay, I can buy that. I can buy that one serial murderer, which is what he is, right? He's because these women don't come out, so they go in the house, they don't come out. And from the looks of these videos that he had, I don't think it was just women that he had down there either. It was just people. And of course, Justin finds videos. He puts one in. He plays like 10 seconds of it. And then he turns around to this old guy and calls him every name in the book. And that's it, I'm telling kind of thing. So the guy takes a gun and shoots himself. I thought he was going to shoot Justin Long's character, but made just as much sense for him to shoot himself, realizing that he was found, realizing that people would know. Now, there are a few things that are unexplained. First off, you never see what he did. So when Justin Long's turning, like, you're sick. How do you sleep at night? What is wrong with you? And the fact that Justin, who, yeah, dude, she said no, but she was down for it, turns into that, shows you how bad it is. Because, he's not like, hey, this is great. He understands this is some messed up stuff he was watching, and that however whatever's wrong with him, the other guy's got way more wrong with him. So there's that comparison there. While she's still doing whatever she was doing, I didn't remember at that point. She was out, wasn't she? She she gets out of the house like twice, and the first time she went back, I was like, "Why'd you go back? What? You were out. You were safe. Get in your vehicle and leave. Just go, get out of there, and leave, and never come back." But it's a horror movie, so of course they go back into the place where they could get murdered, because it's what you do. Did she grab a weapon? Not really. Justin Long was the only one that was smart enough to actually grab a weapon when he was going down there. Not that he kept it for very long, but at least he had one. I did think it was interesting too that I mean, she's never got a name. The monster looking woman down there that again they said was the exposition guy that shows up. So there's a homeless guy that is just there for exposition. First off, he's yelling and screaming at this girl, "Don't go in the house! Don't go in that." Okay, if you want to convince somebody not to go in the house, the last thing you do is run yelling at them. All it was missing was him brandishing a knife. Don't go in there. Like, and as soon as she locked him out and go away, and she's calling the cops, I'm like, yeah. So he's the harbinger. He is. If you've watched Cabin in the Woods, he is like the guy at the gas station, right? When this is your last chance to turn back, and so he was kind of her last chance to turn back and smarten up. But when you see him later on, and he gives this exposition dump, and as soon as he said, "Well, she's never come in here," I'm like, it's one of those lines in a movie. Like, it would be great to see a movie where, and I know they've done the Scream rip-offs, the scary movie ones, but it would be great to see like a horror comedy where every time somebody throws out a dumb line like that, they're immediately dead. Where, well, they can't get in here and I'm dead. Billy, are you out there? Dead. Because they're calling for somebody that is already gone. Like, just rapid fire, quick. You could have like a 40 person cast and just rattle them all off in an 80-minute movie and done. But and again, just make them all just ridiculous. People saying dumb things that every cliched movie line, which this one didn't have a lot of it, and I appreciated the end of it. There is the ridiculousness. So Justin being chased by this creature, and he's with, and I'm just calling him Justin because Justin Long is one of those guys that he's always Justin Long. You guys know what I mean, right? Like, I've been watching She-Hulk too, and Tatiana Maslany is this ridiculously good actress in that every character she portrays, I believe, is a different person. So when she was on Orphan Black and she was 6, 7, 8 different clones, sometimes in the same episode, I bought them all as separate characters, not just Tatiana Maslany. Like a Nick Cage. Nick Cage is always Nick Cage. Restrained Nick Cage is still Nick Cage. Screaming Nick Cage is peak Nick Cage, but Nicolas Cage is always himself. Ben Stiller has two characters, the nice, nerdy underdog and the overbearing jerk. That's his two characters. And so with Justin Long, he's sort of along that same line that the range is, he's still Justin. So to me, I'm just Justin, and that was his name in Dodgeball because they were like, he's Justin, right? He's we're just gonna make his name Justin because it's just easier. It's like Tony Danza used to say every character he played was named Tony because he thought that maybe directors didn't think he was very bright, which I thought was a funny line, and yet Taxi, who's the boss, adds up. But Justin Long's character, he's on the run from this creature, and he's got the girl with him, and he decides, all right, well, she's gonna kill us, so I'm gonna throw you off this water tower, and she'll jump after you. Which I thought, that is so ruthless, but he's probably right. So he throws the girl off, and the creature jumps after. And I thought this is very Resident Evil looking, but in a way that actually makes an impact rather than hundreds of walkers jumping off of off the roof in the movie, and then number 99 not being stupid, not being smart enough to figure out that the first 98 went over, and maybe I should stop. They all ran. I'm going too. I know they're zombies, but still, come on, there should be a limit. Especially when they're the running zombies. But for me, the creature jumps, and if you understand physics, the fact that she somehow jumped faster to get underneath the girl when they hit the ground, and that it didn't still murder either of them, it kind of strained incredulity. I had a hard time with that. We have decided that this murdering woman, and I mean she's a woman, is she's deformed because of inbreeding, which is if you look at the science on that, it's sketchy, but fine, whatever. He's a monster. He's a serial killer. Sure, he creates like a female version of Freddy Krueger. Sure, why not? All right, sure, cool. But the idea that she could somehow jump faster after seeing this girl get flung off and land underneath, like just the physics of that, I was like, that no. But it made her look kind of heroic. And then, he goes down, and neither of them are dead, because of course not. And he starts making up these weird excuses like, I tried to murder you back there. Wasn't that interesting? But I wasn't actually trying. See, actually, what I was trying to do, and again, it felt like they were doubling down on, this is the bad guy. For all the viewers, this is the bad guy. He didn't have to say any of that. He didn't have to. Again, if it was me, I would have had him like, this is awkward, and then try to leave. So just not try to help her. I would have had him book it, because he's already basically revealed that he is a coward. He is an absolute coward at this point. He should have booked it. And then she could have gone up, and of course the creature could have gone up and chased him, and she could have just been absolutely baffled. And so the creature could have still done what it did to him, and then she could have still done what she had to do. It is a bittersweet ending that this woman that's been living under the house does die. And in watching it, I thought, okay, so you can't really do a sequel to this, because that's always the question you have with a horror movie, is where's the sequel? What's the sequel bait for this one? There really isn't one. There really isn't any kind of sequel you can create for this. You could do a prequel where you could show all the horrors of what this guy does, but I don't think that would be commercially viable. We've already established he's terrible, and we've shown how he dies. So, yeah, the girl lives. The one curiosity I have with this movie, and the one thing that I'm still, having watched the whole thing, I'm kind of a little bit lost on is, so she gets the police to come there. The police are completely weird. They do not react like actual police officers would. There's somebody in here that's murdered people and is going to keep murdering people. Police would investigate that. They wouldn't get aggravated. Be like, another one with the murders. What is it this week? Like, I could understand if it was the cops from Kids in the Hall. Might have been a missed opportunity, right? But yeah, that didn't square with me unless we're in sort of a situation like in the movie Get Out, where there are certain people in the community that know what's going on and want you to zip your lip about it. And in between her call to the 911 operator, who said the weirdest thing, yeah, no, cops aren't coming out for that. Why not? Yeah, they're just not going to go. So, what are you going to do? Expect them to be cops? We're not going out there, all the way out there. You kidding me? That's terrible. They won't even have cell phone reception. Like, I don't. I thought that was weird. And I thought, okay, so there's a community thing going on here. And so I started in my mind thinking about like rituals and cults and what's going on in this house. And I started getting this whole elaborate idea because the 911 operator didn't act like a 911 operator. She acted kind of like whatever. And the cops didn't want to go in that house. They didn't want to be there. But they didn't, it didn't look like they didn't want to be there because they were scared, which I think would have been better. I think it would have been better if they both nervously had their hands on their guns the whole time. They're like, yeah, no, no, mm-mm. Why not? Just no. We have you looked around this neighborhood? You shouldn't be here. And they could have sold the whole idea that this neighborhood is a problem. We don't like to come out here. We'll help you. We'll take you somewhere to get you safe. But we recommend you get out of the neighborhood and just leave it at that, right? And so she was saying there's somebody else in the house, and them saying, we've had people go missing here. Something, anything, to explain their weird behavior, because the rest of the movie doesn't excuse or explain their weird behavior unless there's something that was a cut scene that would have explained it. But yeah, it felt to me like, okay, so there's a community. There's other people are in on this because clearly somebody's got that Airbnb listing up that's making money off of it, which of course is the serial awful person in the basement who still has cable, even though I don't know where that was, but a lot of electrical issues I have questions about there. And I mean, if Justin Long has the ownership of the house, who's paying for the hydro? Who's paying for all this stuff and all that? And I mean, is it just like his name would still be on it, right? And nobody ever came knocking about all these people going missing. And I know a majority of them were women, but from the looks of the descriptors on all the VHS tapes, some of them would have been guys. But anyways, it is one of those curiosities I have, and so yeah, it is a very unique movie. Does not have a lot of scary moments. Doesn't have a lot of deaths in it either. And I thought it was very well written. I thought it was very well put together. There are some questions I still have, and I hope they do not answer them. One of the biggest mistakes in horrors now is they try to answer everything. That's not what horror is supposed to be. Do we really know what caused Michael Myers to kill his sister? No. Do we need to know? No. Loomis just said he's evil. Done. That's it. That's all you need. Very often now in movies, you have this exposition where they explain everything, or you end up in a situation where a horror movie comes out, like The Conjuring, and there's some mysteries to that. So they bring out a whole slew of sequels that take all the mystery out of it and just make it so you're like, you know what? I don't. And part of what happens with that is it's then harder to enjoy the original. One closing moment, or one closing argument I'd use for it, and wearing my Halloween jersey. I'm not watching Halloween Ends. I'm not going to the theater. I'm not going to do it. I went to the theater to watch Halloween Kills because I really enjoyed the 2018 reboot, which of course is a sequel, but it's a reboot. And the idea of this trilogy, I thought, well, that could be fun. That could be interesting, right? But Halloween Kills was so bad, I have no intention of seeing Halloween Ends. I've read all the spoilers. I've watched videos. I know there are some that enjoyed it and some that don't. I don't. I don't care about Corey, so that's a problem. I didn't particularly care either about a whole movie that would build towards a fight between Laurie and Michael because it's tired. It's been done. Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, Halloween 2018, and then she's in the hospital for the whole movie of Halloween Kills just to keep them from fighting each other again. It's been done. So what happens is, because I have no interest in the third movie and I didn't like the second, I haven't watched the first movie, the 2018 one, which I liked. I may never watch it again because it sets up other movies that I didn't enjoy. The way that the 2018 movie ended was almost perfect. And the idea of, well, could they save him? The answer is no. The funny thing is, the third movie, the Halloween Ends, takes away this whole idea that there's something supernatural about Michael, which makes the way that he lived through all those gunshots and stabbings and everything in the other movies more confusing. I don't understand, because he had this supernatural presence to him. Cool. And then they just, for the most recent movie, said he's an old guy in a sewer now. What? What did I miss? And the answer is apparently everything. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about the movie Barbarian. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? And again, it's more along the lines of the kind of horror movie I like. It's not a whole bunch, not a huge body count, no torture scenes, no horrific, murders that are over the top or unnecessary. And I understand with horror movies that the idea of unnecessary is a bit of a slippery slope, but it just, everything in this movie felt earned. Everything in this movie felt like it was logical. And even though there's this jarring moment where they go to Justin's character in his car and he's by the ocean and everything's great and beautiful, it to me, I understood that they had set up this really foreboding finish for a guy who everything's going great, and then it descends, and you watch as he step by step goes from, hey, things are going great for me, to I could die here, and you know what, better you than me. And just that descent of his character is fantastic, because I think the real Barbarian in this movie, clearly it's the guy with all the videotapes, but Justin's not far behind him, right? So there's that theme in there as well. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope everybody has a wonderful Halloween. I will talk to you again soon.